This week, a phone is born, and we're exclusively behind the scenes. Can artificial intelligence block the bullies? And driving monsters. Just across the water from Hong Kong, on the Chinese mainland, lies a city at the heart of the country's technological revolution. Welcome back to Shenzhen. This is where stuff gets made.
When you think of China's electronics scene, this might be what you think of. Thousands of factories and millions of people mass producing billions of devices.
More than 70% of the world's mobile phones are manufactured in China. Their components, also made locally, are sourced from the city's famous giant electronics markets, where everything is for sale. But all that industry is taking its toll on the city. As the buildings go up to accommodate the influx of businesses, the smog has come down to remind everyone of the price you pay for a rapidly expanding industrial economy. The middle class here is also consuming more power, as well as demanding something else: good quality, homegrown products. And Chinese brands are rising to the challenge, with names like ZTE, Xiaomi and Huawei even breaking out of China and becoming recognised and desired worldwide. One such brand is Oneplus. Now, despite only being 4 years old, it's already turned out a number of phones that have been compared favourably to the top-end Samsungs and iPhones. And this week, it unveiled a brand new handset, the 5T, with all the fanfare that a big phone launch gets these days.
Are you all excited?
The secrecy that surrounds these new phones pre-launch is intense, and let's be honest, it's part of the hype. Ooh, look, it's another black rectangle. But as such, it's really rare to get a look behind the scenes at the design, the manufacture, and the launch of a new device. But in Shenzhen, 2 weeks before the unveiling, we were given exclusive access to the inner workings of the production line on the run-up to D-Day.
Now I'm qualified to serve you pastries. They make loads of different types of phones in this factory, so to keep the 5T a secret from all the other workers, everything happens behind the blue shroud of secrecy. Are you ready? Thank you. Come in.
Welcome to Production Line 27.
The phone starts life as just a tiny camera there, and then it's gradually assembled around this U-shaped production line, which means by the time it gets to the end, it's a fully featured phone, just about there.
This is the reason China has come to dominate electronics manufacturing. A ready supply of a disciplined, relatively low-cost workforce. Each person here has one unique job, which requires concentration, speed, and precision. A single speck of dust caught in the camera lens, and the finished phone will be rejected.
What I found most surprising about this is it's all people. I would have thought with this kind of high-precision job, these phones would have been built solely by machines, but it's pretty much all humans.
Each line can produce more than 90 phones an hour. It's exhausting just watching this. Fortunately, the staff get a 2-hour lunch break. And also, suddenly, at 3 p.m,
This might look weird, but having seen how intensive this job is and how much concentration you need, this 10-minute eye break is invaluable. I think if I was doing this job, I just want 10 minutes to kind of get my head down and close my eyes and reset my brain too. Wow.
Now, these people are bringing to life a design that has been anguished over, squeezed for efficiency, and ultimately compromised to keep costs down. I'm meeting with one of the designers to get the inside track on how he's made this black rectangle ever so slightly different from all the others. For every new phone, you come up with lots and lots of different designs like this.
A few hundreds.
Oh my word. Do you think we've achieved peak design now?
In the end, these are all physics. So what interferes with that, what does not, is something that you simply can't change. We are still making some choices, some sacrifices in favor of the beauty of the exterior, still a little bit.
Such as?
Well, such as actually the best place for this would be actually leaning directly on the corner. In our design, we have this angle here. So this does not allow us to directly put this right here.
If you could get rid of one part of the phone to make your camera part better, what would it be? I won't tell anyone.
Maybe the shell?
That's the best answer. Back at the factory, Simon would be horrified by what happens to his design. This is where an unlucky few phones are pulled off the production line to check extreme tolerance.
Ah, that breaks my heart. It's not being dropped flat, is it?
No. With the 5 degrees, you can test the phone more cool. It's under more cool environment. The components will be, shaken a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, more hard.
Elsewhere, other test phones escape that big plunge, but instead are dropped 5,000 times each. Others have their charging ports wiggled and buttons pressed 10,000 times. And then there's the tumble dryer. Only when about 70% of the sample phones start surviving this vigorous testing will a build be deemed successful. For me, this is a fascinating look at how a phone is born. And now that it's been launched, this small pre-production line can expand once the company has an indication of how many orders it will get. And that's the secret, not to produce more than you can sell. So, when OnePlus decided to take on the big brands, which can all afford to fail, it decided to sell its first phone by invitation only.
What was the thinking behind that? Because I would have tried to make it as available as possible.
So being a brand new company and not making such a complicated product as a smartphone and being based here, we didn't really have the opportunity to test the product in all the countries where we sold it. And adding to that, we didn't know how many phones to make. If you end up having too many phones in your warehouse that you can't sell, it's over.
With the launch over, OnePlus will nervously await the first reviews and, more importantly, the advance orders. And they will decide whether these people will be joined by hundreds more or not.
Hello and welcome to the Week in Tech. It was the week that US bot makers Boston Dynamics showed off this horrifyingly agile, backflipping monster. What? Facebook announced it's testing out a trust indicator to help stop fake news, and Mario could be destined for Hollywood. Nintendo are in talks with the animation studio behind Despicable Me about bringing the gaming legend to the big screen. Let's hope it goes better than last time. Video games publisher EA was in hot water this week with its Star Wars Battlefront 2 title. To unlock top characters like Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, gamers originally had to pay large sums of credits, purchasable either with real cash or earned by spending tens of hours playing. Due to complaints, EA initially reduced the number needed by 75%, but has now put a hold on all real-world transactions. And finally, in competition with Amazon and Google, Chinese search engine giant Baidu revealed its own voice-controlled smart speaker. The Raven H has a detachable remote that comes with an LED display, and so you can see that wherever you are in the room, there's a robotic arm version too.
UK's anti-bullying week is now coming to an end. But behind closed doors, computer screens and even smartphones, the bullying that some encounter in the school playground still lives on after hours.
After I did come out, I then received online anonymous messages from an account set up to message me, telling me I should kill myself, because obviously they didn't agree with my sexuality. It destroyed me, because not only was the bullying happening at school, it had followed me to my home, it had followed me to my room, my safe space, the place that I feel happy, the place that I am myself. I suddenly couldn't be anymore.
Thomas moved schools and went on to become one of Facebook's anti-bullying ambassadors, a scheme funded by the social network to train up pupils to provide peer-to-peer support within secondary schools.
It's really important to have someone there because it's someone they know they can come to as well, and with the ambassadors being their generation, children are more likely to come to us and know that they're there for them because we're their age, we have similar interests, so they can come to us much easier.
But with so many different places to communicate, the problem is hard to police, hard to monitor and hard to solve, as those at the front line of dealing with cyberbullying attest.
I think our concern is just how awful the things are that people write. It's very, very sad, but we do regularly see those sorts of comments about everyone hates you, go kill yourself, those sorts of things, which I can't imagine would really happen often in a face-to-face environment.
As the big and small players try to overcome the issue, one British company has big ambitions. They want to get their software on every single child's device before they use it for the first time. Safe2Net don't like to refer to their software as parental control because they feel that that could put people off. Some of the functions, though, could be considered that. For example, monitoring the amount of time that your children are online and limiting that however you see fit. You can block devices, you can block websites. But it also is planning on upping the game of what these sort of products can do by adding a bit of artificial intelligence. By later this year, it's going to be aiming to start to track the behavioural changes so that they can preempt any bullying before it actually happens. It aims to understand context, providing triggered alerts for parents rather than letting them actually spy.
So one of the ways that we identify when children are trending sad and maybe even depressed is they stop posting selfies of themselves because they've lost that self-confidence. So our software is designed to be able to pick up those trends and recognise, again, there's a change in behavioural pattern. So we're identifying cyberbullying abuse, aggression, sextortion, grooming and other predatory risks.
Great if it works, but of course it's all really about human behaviour.
Culturally, we obviously do have an issue that young people believe that you can behave this way online. We need to send a very clear message you don't, and I think it takes all of us to work together, educators, parents and tech companies, to make sure that children understand that.
So whilst none of the solutions may be foolproof, maybe these ideas together could make cyberbullying a lesser problem in the future than it is today.
Apple has been massively popular here in China, but that popularity has started to wane, and that's mainly thanks to an increase in good quality Chinese smartphones. Now that's caused a problem for the thousands of small businesses here which have become dependent on China's obsession with iPhones. Danny Vincent has spent some time with one of the country's unofficial Genius Bar workshops who've become dependent on Apple's success.
Liu Weiting and Huang Feng are migrant workers from southern China. 10 years ago, they moved to Beijing to join China's tech boom. For this family-run business, their fortunes are linked to the rise and fall in popularity of the Apple iPhone. They fix more than 10,000 iPhones a year.
We can basically fix every problem, big or small. We fix Apple products. Our main business is to upgrade iPhone storage. We have been seeing lots of customers. Many of them don't want to change a phone yet, but they want to upgrade the storage.
China and Apple have had an on and off relationship. This is the second biggest market for the American tech firm. But Apple has lost much of its luster in China. Until recently, the company faced back-to-back declining sales. It's losing ground to Chinese competitors.
Other brands have taken certain market share from Apple. That's why Apple's sales aren't that great anymore, a lot worse than before. One possibility is that it's much more expensive than Chinese brands. At the same time, Chinese brands are also made well, of good quality, so many people choose Chinese brands.
This means fewer customers for Huangfeng.
It's just too expensive. iPhone 8 is the same as iPhone 7. The only difference is wireless charging. Others are more or less the same, so iPhone 8 isn't popular. iPhone 7 isn't that popular either.
Apple generates 25% of its profit in China. The launch of the iPhone 10 marked a return to growth in the country. But Chinese-made apps are dominating the market. Apple has struggled to integrate into China's ecosystem. Many users are now opting for cheaper Chinese brands equipped with high-end features.
People in cities that have low consumption, 4-tier cities or cities below, would choose Chinese brands, cheap phones mostly. Like the countryside I am from, people tend to buy low-end phones like Oppo, Bubugao and Huawei.
Apple is still the 5th best-selling phone in China, but now Chinese brands are aggressively moving into the international market.
I feel some brands, Chinese brands, are selling overseas. For example, Huawei phones are being sold to foreign countries. They are quite good.
2 years ago, China was expected to overtake the US, becoming Apple's biggest market. Workers like Liu Weiting are hedging their bets.
How big a market share Apple is going to take in China is difficult to predict. If Apple can keep its system and its looks at the same time change to be more attractive to customers, it will still have quite a big market share. No one can live without a phone. So if you work in the phone industry, you will have a market.
Even back when China was just known for manufacturing other countries' devices, it was still growing some pretty strong tech brands to serve its own enormous population.
Take WeChat. It's an app used by nearly 900 million people here in China. Now, it's a bit like WhatsApp, but you can do so much more with it. You can order a taxi or a food delivery. You can even take part in a spot of dating, Tinder style. But what's amazing is, where you might struggle to use a credit card here, even the smallest shops will accept payments through WeChat, even when they don't take cash. This is the easiest peer-to-peer payment system I think I've seen. To pay someone else, you just get WeChat to generate a QR code, which the other person scans, and the money is transferred from your account to theirs. Behind WeChat is one of China's biggest tech companies, Tencent, probably the biggest company that you've never heard of. And just like Facebook, Google and the like in the West, Tencent is racing to develop ways to try to make sense and make use of all the interactions, words and pictures that are shared on the service every second. The brand new artificial intelligence lab here in Shenzhen is full of young minds trying to apply machine learning research to understanding images. And they're coming up with similar results to those that we've seen previously from companies in the West. Here's an app that's learning how to identify different objects in a picture. At the moment, just rectangular books. But here's one which tries to work out what you're wearing, presumably so it can sell you more of the same. You see, as soon as you can isolate objects within the image, you can give them special treatments. Now that could be for novelty reasons, a bit like what we see Snapchat do, or for more useful things like intelligently applying different effects to different parts of the image, maybe to darken the background and lighten the subject. In a video chat, it's faces that are surely the most important parts of the picture. By spotting and isolating them, they can be turned into 3D models, which might form your avatar for times when the video link won't work. In fact, they're working on the whole body here, identifying limbs and joints, which can also form part of a 3D reconstruction.
Just don't ask to see the raw data. Delightful. And for times when the video is not clear or it's too compressed, here's some work to increase the resolution, adding back in missing detail by looking for clues for what was lost over several frames of video. But this lab aims to go further than just understanding the images on our social feeds.
Before the plane was invented, people couldn't imagine a time when humans could fly. Only after its invention, we now understand that it is possible. So the same needs to happen with AI. Instead of just simply improving efficiency of what we can do today, we need a big breakthrough that will go beyond our imagination.
And if nothing else has impressed you, then here's a new feature which will analyse your photos, write a description of them, and then wrap them. Yes, wrap them. Word to your mother. It seems that Tencent is working really hard to catch up with the West, exploring AI's applications in lots of areas at once. These lunchtime power naps are commonplace here in China and probably necessary to enable workers to keep working late into the evening. And they'll certainly need a lot of energy because Tencent is trying to break out of China. It's bought a stake in Snapchat and also in Tesla, which is itself working heavily on image processing to help its fleet of semi-autonomous cars to understand the world around them. And I'm not just talking about semi-autonomous cars, no, Tesla now has a new truck. Here's Dave Lee in Los Angeles.
You've really got to hand it to Elon Musk. When people are telling him he can't do something or that he's doing too much, what does he do? He goes and launches an enormous electric truck.
And here it is, the Tesla Semi. He says it will go 500 miles on a single charge. Carrying the heaviest load allowed on US roads, it will do 0 to 60 miles per hour in 20 seconds.
On the left, the thing that looks like it's not moving is a diesel truck.
As you might expect, it comes filled with a host of Tesla technology, including autonomy. This thing will change lanes on its own.
Now a diesel truck is twice as expensive as a Tesla Semi.
If you move from diesel to electricity, which is significantly cheaper, those costs will be significantly cheaper, and these trucks could pay for themselves in just a couple of years in theory.
Other companies are trying to pull off the electric truck. Cummins is a truck firm that has been around for more than 100 years, and it unveiled its own electric truck recently, but that one only has a range of 100 miles per charge, of no interest to any serious trucker. In classic Steve Jobs style, Elon Musk had one more thing for the Tesla faithful.
So the Tesla fans that came here today certainly expected to see a lorry. What they weren't expecting to see was a new Roadster, and that certainly got this energetic crowd extremely excited.
The bad news for Tesla fans is that the Roadster won't be on the road until 2020.
And that's it from China for the moment. There is absolutely no doubt that we will be back here pretty soon. In the meantime, you can catch all the backstage fun and photos on Facebook and on Twitter at BBC Click. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.